Well, I've always found one of the most interesting parts of coming to a motorcycle launch is not just coming and riding the bike and having a look at it, but actually meeting the people, behind the brand. And with Sean McCoy, he's the technical manager for Triumph Australia. Gave a presentation last night all about the bikes. We also had Scott Landsey from the UK and also Ricardo Casanova, who are product leads, and gave a really interesting insight into the birth, the concept, and the whole development of the project, both the motocross and then the departure, I guess, from motocross to create these enduro bikes. Of course, we're here down in Victoria for the launch of the enduro bikes. The TF250 and 450-E. Sean, we had a really interesting conversation over a beer last night, mate. And I guess before we get into some of that tech stuff, you were recounting me some of the experience. Obviously, Triumph in the UK, that is HQ, but all the manufacturing done in Thailand. And you guys went there, I think, 6 months ago and had a pretty interesting experience. Tell us a bit about that, mate.
Yeah, so it was about 2 months ago. So myself and one of our technical specialists went over for some training on these and got to do some factory tours of their 4 sites in Thailand, which took us right through the raw materials coming into factory 1 and then the bikes coming out the other side. And one of the eye-opening parts for us was how much manufacturing and machining was done in-house with Triumph.
Which has been something they've always done, right?
Yeah, something that they've done for a long time with their road bikes. They've got plenty of experience with that, and it's carried over to the motocross and now the enduro bikes. So that was, great to see. Great to see behind the scenes with the team over there and everything that goes into producing these.
And you guys, your background, I guess, road, obviously adventure bikes. But it's kind of like it's a new journey for you guys. So
it is.
How's that been? The motocross launches you did late last year, and now with the enduro launch, it's obviously a different world and something you're learning about. But just tell us a bit about the energy within Triumph itself, I guess, to what that's brought. The brand.
Well, plenty of learning, I think, for everyone. Even the team in the UK have all been pretty open about that, and us here in Australia. So we've done a few launches now. I've had the MX bike in market for just over 12 months. And plenty of learnings, plenty of good feedback and things to give back to the UK. As far as the energy behind it, you can definitely feel that they are 100% committed to making this work, and I think they've done a good job. First cab up the rank, they've done a really good job. They are committed to making these bikes work.
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear with that last night, the energy in the room here in Australia and how many people you guys have, got committed to this project.
Yeah.
The breath of fresh air, meeting new media, going to different sort of launches.
It is.
A lot of what we were talking about last night is the motocross bikes are a known quantity. They've done particularly well around the world.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of an inkling with these new enduro bikes, obviously with Johnny Walker coming, 6 outright, I think, in Erzberg, and top 4-stroke, amongst a field of 302 strokes, which is that seems the thing to ride there. So, but I think, a lot of that questioning with Scott and Ricardo last night was about, we've seen the motocross bikes, but how have you enduroized these things? How have you adapted your motocross bike, proven entity, and done particularly well out of the gates? How have you adapted it to enduro? So I kind of thought, having a chat with Sean, who knows these things inside out, and you could go into infinitesimal detail, I know, mate, but so we kind of got to keep it a little bit top line. But okay, so the average person's going, you move from a motocross bike to an enduro bike. You whack a headlight on, 18-inch rear, 6-speed gearbox.
That's what I used to do, just headlight and off you go.
Maybe a bigger tank, right? But that's about it. So while all those things are true, there's a kind of philosophy behind adapting it, right? It's not just throw some enduro parts on, it's got to work. So the most interesting thing for me, and I grilled the guys about but how different is the frame? It's not. I know they tried a lot of different options, but correct me if I'm wrong, but slightly shorter, 10 mil shorter in the fork, 10 mil longer in the swing arm to sort of rock the chassis forward a little bit. But just let's talk from a chassis point of view. That's probably the most significant change, right?
Well, I think the thing that's been drilled into us as well is there is obviously some carryover, but quite early on in the project, they were aware that they'll be going down the enduro path as well, and started developing in parallel, in tandem, and took a lot of learnings. And with the frame itself, they did try plenty of different combinations to get that compliance for enduro riding. And they ended up settling on the same frame from the MX to these enduro bikes. Obviously, as you mentioned, the forks are slightly different, longer swing arm, which definitely helps with the stability. And even talking to some of the guys riding today, that tractability coming out of corners is not so snappy compared to the MXs.
Yep.
In these conditions with tree roots and rocks, etc.
Yes.
So yeah, the chassis has very much stayed the same. There's a few different, obviously it's got a steering lock and some different mounting points and a side stand.
Yep.
But other than that, the frame is basically the same.
But it's also rocking the chassis forward.
Forward
and
as well,
I know, like, you know, I think of what Yamaha did, and they really rocked it forward. And, you know, coupled with, I think, gone up to a 58 or 5/8 spring, which is actually firmer than the motocross bike, but rocking it forward in that, for that tight stuff where you really, you know, enduro riding's all about going where you don't know, right? You know, you can't really premeditate your line. So putting more weight on the front with the longer swing arm and the front end, giving a little bit more standover, I suppose, with a slightly lower suspension as well, right?
Yeah, and just on the suspensions, so the valving is different for these enduro bikes, and the spring rates as standard do reflect that as well. So it's a bit softer in the front, harder in the rear.
4.6 down to 4.4 front.
4.4,
yeah,
correct.
But interestingly, like I've seen some other enduro brands, you know, going from motocross to enduro, they've the idea of stiffer spring in the rear. I guess you bigger guy, more gear on, camelback.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting listening to Scott last night talk about it, and I think we're all a bit surprised that they went the harder, but it seemed to work. And again, in combination with the frame and the compliance is there, they found a real sweet spot with it. And
I wouldn't leave him alone about that frame last night, right?
I know,
because I think what a lot of people do, as much as the motocross frame, you know, per se, translates, a lot of that compliance, people keep thinking, okay, enduro bike, you've got to have to build some compliance in. How's it going to take some of this punishment right off-road? And they build it into engine mounts, you know, like steering head, you know, shock mounts, those sorts of things, axles, all that kind of stuff. And yet those guys saying, mate, we went around the mulberry bush and we tried all that stuff. We end up coming back.
Linkages are the same. So as they mentioned, there are plenty of combinations trial.
Yes.
This is what they've settled on, and it seems to be performing well.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other big thing, so that's sort of chassis. Bodywork we talked about. We've gone from around roughly a 6 to an 8.3 litre tank for these four-strokes. I want to say 25 mil longer in the guard.
25 mil, yeah.
Shrouds are a little bit different from motocross bike.
Slightly different mounting points. So a little bit flat out compared to the MX.
But you'd have to say that the standout, and obviously handguard, backplate, that kind of stuff, right?
Of course,
in terms of the standout stuff in the way the bike's different, from me, it was like flywheel weight. Not flywheel weight, but the actual inertia of the engine. It's actually in the crank weight. And when you looked at the pictures of the motocross to the
it's a big difference.
It's like 30 and 34% increase, right? Which was huge. And I said to the guys, well, why don't you just do that in mapping? And they said, good question, but no, you can't.
They couldn't replicate it, So that reciprocating mass that they need, built into the crank. And I think, again, we can see that today. You know, there was very few flame outs, and everyone was just chugging along up on the hill climbs with no real drama.
But that's a huge difference, right? Going almost a third more, you know, engine inertia, you know, and everybody was talking about tractability today. And what blew me out was the 250 that felt like a 300, just because it would tractor. I don't think I've ever said that before. 254 stroke, right? It would not buzz and scream, it would tractor up a hill.
Yeah, we've gotten the most probably positive feedback on the 250. Everyone's just blown away, because I think we all have preconceived ideas of the 250. Obviously, there's another capacity right there, but I think once you ride the 250, that gap is bridged with these bikes. So,
and just while we're on engine, obviously gone to a 6-speed box. I noticed they've both got the same 1351 sprockets, but obviously the internal ratios in the 450 and 250 are completely different.
Yeah, so obviously has the 6 gear, but the ratios right through the gears are different compared to the motocrosses. So it's geared more for enduro riding. So it's not just the additional gear, the whole ratio is being changed.
And obviously the mapping as well. You know, the
enduro mapping as well. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's all different also.
I think you mentioned before, what else? We got a few other little differences. Airbox, I think you said slightly larger volume.
Slightly larger, yeah. So the MXs, the 250 and 450 had different size airboxes between the two capacities. The Enduros have both got a larger airbox, which is same capacity from 250 and 450. That looks like it will be coming on the MXs for MY26.
Yes.
But obviously the Enduro's got that straight away. So yeah, slightly larger airbox there.
Okay.
They do, just on the airbox as well, they come standard with yeah, optional covers. So you've got a completely sealed cover and a ventilated cover, which we're in today.
Yep.
So yeah, they can swap out. Yeah, it takes 2 minutes to change them over. But yeah, they come as standard.
Okay. So obviously looking at an ADR bike here with mirrors on and a lot of the restrictions there, but what else, mate? I know you had a bit of a list just to like a checklist to double check. You know, what else is difference between the two, because it is significant, right?
Yeah, I mean there are plenty of differences. You know, when we talk to the UK about it and asking questions even ourselves and at training, the standard answer we got back is everything. Everything's been changed. There are some carryover, but even the carryover parts have been altered. So, you know, even the cylinder heads, yes, they're the same, but they've been modified to allow for the EVAP system. Cylinder head, EVAP. Other than that, the radiator fan also comes standard equipment on the enduro bikes. You know, again, there's plenty of other subtle differences between the two, but they're probably the key points.
In a lot of ways, I think, you know, talking about the lack of differences with frame and some of those other pieces I talking about building compliance in, would it be fair to say it puts an extra emphasis on getting suspension settings right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To adapt from motocross to enduro, I mean.
For sure, yeah, 100%. Obviously, we run the standard settings today. A few people made some changes there. Good thing with both the motocrosses and now the enduros, trying to offer different spin rates as genuine accessories, so they can be purchased from the dealer. You put it in at PDI if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely want to get the suspension settings right, get your sag right. But yeah, should be good.
And I guess last up, like, you know, you've seen the things on paper, you know, you guys have workshopped them, you've seen them arrive, you've been through the factory and watched them materialise, you've seen them land in the country, and then you come along to a launch and you've got to learn, you know, the media. What's the kind of experience like and getting that feedback? You know, is it a little bit nerve-wracking in a way for you guys?
It's exciting. It's a bit nerve-wracking in some ways, but I think you know, for us, we have gone right through the bikes. You know, stripped them right down ourselves. Attended training. Some of our guys got to do the running on these bikes as well, so they got to have a ride. And yeah, we're all pretty excited about it. I think the whole team, you know, coming into this segment, and you know, there's exciting things to come as well. So. You know, it's not Trump's, you know, first going into it, but I think they're very committed and plenty of exciting bikes to come.
Well, they're talking about lightweight, agility, stability, and the fact that there's been no compromise in terms of the parts and the quality of the parts on the bike. And, you know, I think probably I'll speak for all the journalists here that just sort of said it was a pretty, you know, like people were kind of eyebrows up, holy shit, for a first time effort. This is a freaking good effort. So, you know, obviously really competitive things. I think it's it's kind of, and just great to see Triumph, you know, arriving on the scene in Australia, off-road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great to have you guys here, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming along. Glad you enjoyed it.
Bloody good day. Looking forward to a little bit more time on some of these bikes.